Hey there everyone, it's Brandon Burns, your Head of Community here, back on the couch, and with me is special guest Warwick Donaldson. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Mate, great to have you on the couch.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you're the director, obviously, of StartUp Nanjing. You're an entrepreneur.
StartUp Grind Nanjing.
Yeah, StartUp Grind Nanjing.
Yeah.
And we actually first met in May when we and about 15 startups from regional Vic and Melbourne went to Nanjing to pitch and take part of the competition. And I think you were already on the ground and running your business there already, yeah?
Yeah. So I'd been in China at that point for nearly 2 years, a bit over 2 years.
Yeah.
And then to just when you came, I'd been running StartUp Grind for a couple of months.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little bit about StartUp Grind.
Yeah.
So I mean, StartUp Grind is a global startup community which is in over 600 cities in 150 countries around the world. And we focus on building startup communities or innovation communities, and centered around bringing together different parts of the community in a not-for-profit way. It's all run by volunteers, and so that's bringing together government, universities, entrepreneurs, incubators, investors, bringing everyone together and trying to provide a not-for-profit, non-affiliated organization where no one feels like we're trying to take and threaten anyone else. And so it's really, really good. And so in Nanjing, where we grew from 100 to 850 members over the last year. And running a lot of events. I think we did 18 events last year. With about 500 people, a bit over 500 people that came.
How many events did StartUp Beijing do?
They did, from memory, I think they did something like 200 with like 11,000 attendees, run by all volunteers.
Wow.
Across the year. I think it's one of the largest in the world now.
And you're heading to Silicon Valley for a StartUp Grind annual conference in the next couple of months, yeah?
Yeah, going to the global conference. When's that? In February this year. So that's going to be directors and co-directors from startup grinds all around the world, and hopefully investors and startups and entrepreneurs and everybody all in a big room who build ecosystem builders and community builders. So it'll be quite fascinating. Yeah.
2 questions. First one is, biggest tip you could give to an Aussie business looking to enter the Chinese market? And second question would be, what are maybe those top 3 industries, products or services that you'd recommend going to China as well?
Yeah, so definitely the top thing to consider is be realistic about China. It is a big market, and it is extraordinarily complex. You have a 5,000-year-old culture, you have an extraordinarily different language, you have a very, very different system. Every part of the system is basically different to the West, and so it takes a lot to understand and learn. And it's such a large, diverse market. Basically every city within itself, all these large cities, is kind of a different culture in itself. Even within China, we had large corporates trying to enter the city that I was in, Nanjing, which is about 10 million people. And a corporate from Shanghai would have trouble entering the Nanjing market just because the culture is so different.
Wow. And
so if you imagine if you're a startup from Australia trying to go to China for the first time and you don't know anything about it, you don't know language or anything, you're obviously going to have a very difficult time. So I think just be realistic about it. It is a good market and it's very interesting. But be realistic about why you want to be there. And if you can't imagine yourself learning the language and the culture and living there, then it's probably going to be very difficult for you long term.
Top industries,
top industries. So, China's very good in the deep tech kind of space at the moment. They're building up a lot around agri-tech, and we're starting to see more coming through in like construction tech. It's very early days, and prop tech. Obviously China's very good at manufacturing, moving a lot towards advanced manufacturing now. So you're seeing like battery tech and drones and all this sort of stuff. And there's a lot of we've got a lot of hardware kind of incubators that are cruising around, and it's very difficult just because China's so big to kind of name them. But
Well, I noticed when we were there in May, Some of the businesses that we took to China that we were anticipating would be a real success and cut through didn't necessarily, but the ones that did seem to exist in medical
Yep. Yes.
you know, services and things that assisted with the ageing population.
Yes.
And it seemed like there was a real appetite from the Chinese for Australian businesses with that type of IP and ideas.
Yeah, definitely medical. There's a large, there's a very large demand. There's a lot of investment there as well, and they're very good at producing that. You know, like Nanjing, they have basically some of the world's highest collection of medical production devices. You know, in these brand new areas that can pump out, and the government has a lot of support and they have a lot of knowledge. Doing stuff around deep tech and AI and that sort of stuff, the Chinese are very good at. They have a lot of funding, so you know, if you go in there looking for maybe research partners or you know, production partners and that sort of stuff, it's obviously very good. They're good at it. Yeah.
Well, we're going to do a long-form podcast interview with Warwick. He's going to create a profile on Runway Virtual so that you can all join and connect with him. And I'd love to get you on board as a mentor as well, because there's some real value in your experience in China and as a founder and an entrepreneur all round. So
Sounds good.
Thank you for being with us on the couch.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al, for filming. And you can check out more Couch Chat videos in the comments. Thanks, Warwick.
Thank you.